YouTube world, it's me Coco, and I am back with another video. Okay, so it's like 1 o'clock at night, and I'm looking a little very natural. Okay, my daughter gave me a hickey by sucking on my face, the struggles of having a baby, right? But anyways, don't judge my natural look. Y'all know me, I show up as I am because I believe in authenticity. Okay, excuse me. But in today's video, I wanted to talk about shadow work and what it is and how to do it, right? Because we've been hearing do your shadow work, do your shadow work. A lot of people are called to do shadow work. But if you're anything like me, you're like, how the fuck do I do shadow work? Okay? It's really simple. Actually, like the process of it is simple, but the effort and the consciousness and the work itself is what's hard, right? So shadow work is facing the shadows of yourself, facing your traumas, getting to learn your traumas, and really healing your inner child, right? So how you do that, right? Or pretty much what you do, how you do it, right? You really got to pay attention to a lot of situations, right? Like really pay attention to situations. Like when you feel triggered, like if you're in a situation, I'm just giving an example, right? Because it's going to tie into what you do. So like say you in a situation, right? And you get into an argument and you feel really triggered. Without the person being like blatantly disrespectful, right? You have to ask yourself in that moment, why am I feeling triggered? What about this is triggering me, right? And you figure out what it is that's triggering you and why you're triggered. And then you take that and you go home and you sit with that and you really dig deep as to why you're triggering it, right? So for example, me and my partner, we get into it. I wouldn't say that we argue because he's not argumentative. It's really just me, that be doing all the yelling and the cussing and shit like that. But we get into arguments because I have trust issues, right? My thing was I never really had trust issues because every time I got into a relationship, I've always given trust until you fucked up, right? So then when I did my shadow work, I realized that my trust issues didn't come from boyfriends. It didn't come from girlfriends. It really didn't come from friends. Like, even though I have trust issues with friends, that's a different story, but it really didn't come from friends. My trust issues came from my mom. And, whether it be something simple or something big, like, me and my mom had problems growing up, and I really felt like my mother didn't love me the way that I needed to be loved or the way that I wanted to be loved. And it's like, to me, she wasn't there for me. So it's like, if I can't trust my mom to be there for me, then how can I trust anybody else to be there for me? So then when I realized that, I realized I had abandonment issues, right? So then I had to unpack these abandonment issues, like I push you away because I feel like if I leave first or I push you away to where you leave, then it wouldn't hurt as much, right? So that's the aspect of shadow work, is really sitting down with every single situation that triggers you and really figuring out why it triggers you, right? And I really had to give a real example so that way y'all really see how it plays out, because it's easy to just, say do this and you do that. And no, like real examples are needed, especially for something like this, right? Excuse me. And then also too, I did a lot of journaling. Understand that whole what you think is what you manifest, that's not true to its entirety, okay? It becomes true over time. Like, no matter what you do, whether it's good or bad, it'll manifest if you keep doing the same thing over time. Like, depression will manifest because you're sitting in the house depressed, you're not doing nothing, you're not going out getting no sunlight, you're not eating natural foods, etc., etc., right? So that's how depression manifests, Compared to if you wanted to fight depression, what would you do? You go outside, you get some fresh air, you know, you talk to people, etc., right? So, excuse me, I just ate some chips and drank some water. So that's why I'm kind of gassy. But yeah, so you journal, really journal how you feel in the moment. Like, whether it's good or bad, if you feel like you want to journal, journal. Write down all your feelings. I'm telling you, just because you embrace your emotions does not mean that you embody your emotions. I'm going to say that again. Just because you embrace your emotions does not mean you embody your emotions. Just because I'm sad and I cry and, you know, I want to sleep, it does not mean that I'm gonna embody the sadness. I will embody the sadness if I hold that shit in, because it'll literally eat me alive. And sadness will turn into depression. Depression will turn into stress. Stress will turn into anxiety. And that's how all these mental illnesses come up, right? I mean, of course, it's not that simple, but you know, you get what I'm saying. And then also releasing. When you realize the issues that you have and you realize the emotions that you have, you actively work on releasing it. Like, I know that it is easy to do a full moon ritual and release everything, and pretty much what you do, I actually got a video on a full moon ritual, but pretty much what you do is you write down everything that you want to release, you fold it away from you, and you burn it. And as you releasing it, you say, I release, you know, and you can name a few things on the list. You don't necessarily have to name all of them, but you can name a few things on the list to release. My bad, y'all, I'm getting over a cold. But you can name a few things on the list to release, and even if you don't name it, it's still, you still put the energy into the air. And also, too, pay attention to how the paper burns, and if there's any part of the paper left over, pay attention to that part of the paper, because that aspect of what you're trying to release needs a bit more work. Okay, and understand that even though you do a release ritual, it does not mean that everything is going to be released at that point in time. It takes effort, it takes energy. Like I said, just because you feel something and you write something does not mean that it'll necessarily manifest. Okay, just because you write something and you actually feel something does not mean it will manifest. You have to do the work in order for the things to manifest, no matter how good or how bad, how big or how small. You have to do the work in order for it to manifest. Okay, and understand that it takes time to release those energies. Like, I'm just now, like, I done this like last year, right? And I'm just now really getting over my fear of abandonment, right? It took me almost a year. Well, not really a whole year. It took me almost a year, right? A half a year. But certain things will take longer. Certain things will take shorter. Some people need to put in more work. Some people have more layers, so therefore it'll take more time. My journey is not the same as your journey, so remember that when you're on this journey and you take advice from other people. Yeah, we're giving good advice, but it doesn't mean that it's a one size fit all. You have to use everything that we say with discernment, okay? So pretty much that is how you do shadow work. And also another thing that I will say helped me out tremendously with shadow work was literally speaking my problems out into the universe and giving it over to the universe. Of course, me being the type of person that I am, I still met the universe with resistance, but because I actually laid my problems out on the line and actually decided to say, here, universe, I need your help, the universe decided to step in even more and help me. And I think that's what also helped me accomplish so much in a little bit of time. So like I said, just because you write it down, just because you feel it, just because you think it, just because you speak it, does not mean that it's going to manifest. Again, just because you write it, just because you feel it, just because you speak it, does not mean that it's going to manifest. You have to do the work for it to manifest, no matter what, no matter how good it is, no matter how bad it is, no matter how big it is, no matter how small it is. You have to do the work in order for whatever it is to manifest. Again, just because I say that I'm a billionaire and I sit on my couch and watch TV all day, that's not going to make me a billionaire unless I'm really saving up my money. And it's going to take me a long time to save the little bit of money that I make to become a billionaire, right? Just because I say I'm depressed and I'm going outside and I'm living my life does not mean that I'm going to be depressed. You know, like, again, just because you say it, just because you write it, just because you feel it, does not mean it'll manifest. Remember, you can embrace your emotions and you can really embrace your thoughts without embodying those things. Just because I feel like I'm a billionaire does not mean that I'm a billionaire. Just because in the moment I feel sad does not mean I'm just sad. Like, you get what I'm saying? So I hope these tips really help you out on your shadow work journey, because it definitely did help me out with my shadow work journey. If you have any questions, feel free to ask whatever questions you may have, and I will try my best to give you knowledge, to give you answers, and pretty much every answer that I'm giving is going to come from my personal experience, because this is something that I've been doing for a few years now, and this is something that I am doing for a living. I am a transformational coach. I'm a mindset coach. I'm an empowerment coach. You know, I'm a spiritual coach. This is what I do. I teach and I preach from my experience. So, and if it did help, please, please, please share. Because I want to help as many people as I can, whether it's directly or indirectly. And you sharing this video is indirectly me helping other people, and directly you helping other people. So thank you for your time, for your energy, for your currency. Because if it wasn't for you, I would not be on this platform sharing my knowledge.